Be there. All right. Go. Let me check my settings. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. We here. Welcome to the Realist Podcast. We back. We in effect. We in a space. How you guys doing? Hey man, first of all, let me get my graphics set up. Let me get my background and my graphics corrected. Real quick here. Have to make sure that audio is right though, very important. Very important. Okay. Let's go with the rounded look. All right. We're getting in motion. We're getting in motion. All right, here we go. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen. This is Distorted View of America. Born, Rain, Ended. I didn't want this to be the show that I wanted to start off to do tonight because I left that title there. So let me go ahead and edit it. It's going to be the title. That's going to be the second show tonight. And when I did the editing, I didn't put the right part in there. So let me edit something quick. Let me just grab this title real quick. All right, save. We good. Okay. Turn this on, pimp. Yeah, that should be online. And you should be online too. Damn, streaming key for you. Okay, they throwing my shit off, pimp. We're right. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right. All right, we gotta be. Slow it down because it seems like buffing a little bit. So I want to slow it down. Okay. Let me go ahead and change this title. Get this. So they're all informed. All right. All right. This is part 2 of last night's show. Part 2 of last night's show. Last night's show, I kept it short because I had I had made a mistake. I'm taking accountability for the mistake I made. I didn't check my settings before I rebooted the machine. So I was talking with no audio. So here we go. We're going to pick up on some stuff we missed out on. American apartheid, ladies and gentlemen. This is America versus the United States show, part 2. So the thing is, what I was telling you about this book is Medical Apartheid. It's the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to the present by Harriet A. Washington. So I was in some interesting chapters in this book. And it's so enlightening about, how devious and destructive the this is the page. This is where I was going to. It's called Cage Subjects. This is chapter 10. Research on Black prisoners. is in America. This is a very informative book because it gives you this is literally happened in 2004, or where these stories were these that were coming to light. And I'm going to read you some information in this book that's going to give you some true insight on the evil capabilities of people, and how not only do they see some people as outside of humanity, the distorted mindset of how a person can even apply apply such acts, grotesque acts, to a living being. So let me get started. I am disturbed that the word medical associations is now helping on its clause about not using criminals as experimental material. The American influence has been at work on its suspension. Once in the nicest American scientist I knew was heard to say criminals in our penitentiaries are fine experimental material and much cheaper than chimpanzees. Pertnex, British Medical Journal, January 1963. Whew. Grab your britches. On a bright and prominent early spring day in 2004, Jesse Williams and I shared brunch in Philadelphia seafood house splashed with a bright jewel-like color against the backdrop of a sunny seascapes and murmuring besuited executives. Williams affably recited his resume, detailing the grim expertise in pain and survival he had accrued during his 4 decades in prison in the Holmesburg prison system, the Stingy Scientific Kingdom of University of Pennsylvania dermatologist Dr. Albert M. Kilgman. The evening before Williams, a massive, imposing man with a boxer build, a bald head, a piercing gaze, and a sternum delivery, had spoken eloquently at a showing of Acres of Skin, a documentary based upon Alan Hornblum's incentive book of the same title, an exposing of the decades of Kilgman's medical experimentations at Holmesburg. Williams told the audience of being burned by radiation, sulfuric acid, immersing his arm in chemicals that had tanned his skin like leather, and how physicians, technicians, and rubbering acid into his scrotum until his skin fell away, all for $3 a session. Researchers had cut his armpits to study the glands and lanced his back with scars and attempted to induce a disfiguring, ropey overgrowths called keloids. Not only patches of poison and ivy, but also cardiovascular tissue. I'm sorry. Cadaver, cadaveric tissue has been implanted in his back, and he had inhaled vapors fused with emphysema and other viruses. Shit. Patch tests his various harsh chemicals and ointments had left his checkerboard of rectangular scars on his back. Detergents, whose names he did not know, had removed his hair and abraded his scalp. Williams had offered himself up for as many as 12 experiments at once, bringing him 43, bringing him $30 to $40 for each multi-cision research study. Yet he said he were never told what was going on. He never had witnesses or a receipt or a copy of anything he signed. Before the audience, Williams had been practiced and powerful, but I shared a titi hatiti with a more subdued man. A titi hatiti with a more subdued man. One invested with a gentle but direct manner, but who spoke with complete candor about a violent past that included jail stints for robbery and assault. I've done it all, he admitted quietly, but now he's a Christian, and he spoke sadly of the four, and he spoke sadly. Whoa, 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 whoa. He's done it all, he admitted quietly, and now he's a Christian. And he has spoke sadly of the many former inmates who died of broken health, of his concern for another seriously ill subject. Only after being probed to speak in his own plight did he lamented his myriad physical problems, from leg ulcers to medical changes and chronic skin problems, which he ascribed to the testing. The doctors can't tell me what it is. They don't know what was tested with. Williams confided he regretted he never had achieved the education he desperately wanted, and his voice ambivalently about his playing his scars, physical and mental, for strangers in order to gain support for the inmate's lawsuit. I feel I'm only displayed to zoo. I feel I'm only displayed in the zoo sometimes. He sat back significantly softly. So he sat back, sighed it softly. No one should ever have gone through what we went through. Not again. Not in a civilized country. When Robert Boyle, the 17th century father of chemistry, mused upon the feasibility of scientific research with humans, he opposed Tyra might be made of some genuine human bodies, especially those of male factors, from the testing of inoculation practices to the use of cadavers for dissections and display. The medical community has turned to jail inmates first when they sought experimental subjects. Even in 1910, editorial in a black physician chief publication, the fledgling journal of the National Medical Association proposed that prisoners were the most appropriate medical research subjects. The JNMA suggested that prisoners might simultaneously experience their debt to society, and protect others, especially Black Americans, by substituting for them as unwillingly research subjects. Black physicians wished to pursue research while protecting their Black American patients, and the use of prisoners was an alternative with which everyone, Black and white, could be comfortable. By why a prisoner such universally desirable subjects for medical research. Boyle was one adhering to the exonerating logic of his professors, which he suggested medical experimentation was most acceptable when practiced upon prisoners. So do you understand medical apartheid right here in the United States of America? Right here. So you have America versus the United States. So they use American subjects as subjects for people that were American citizens or are American citizens, quote unquote. So, again, America versus the United States citizens. See, as I told you before, this country has an underlaying society that it never gave a damn about. And everything that Black Americans have had to get, we had to get it on our own, specifically. And if you was a prisoner, you could be subject to being experimented on. If you're in the military, I was in the military. Yeah, we was sometimes subject would be to be experimented on. Luckily, it didn't affect me, in those ways. But I'm a combat veteran. I did 8 years in the Marine Corps, so I've been under some traumatic, very traumatic situations. I've been diagnosed with PTSD. I have my own set of issues, but one thing I do still have is a good mind, and I can think very well, and I'm grateful for that. So, due to the fact that I know that people have a lot of disagreements with the Will Is podcast. That's fine and that's fair. I don't have a problem with that at all. Only thing about it is I can prove everything I say. So I really don't. It really doesn't matter if you would agree with it or not. That doesn't do anything. That does nothing for neither one of us. Like I was having one of these petty conversations again. Sometimes when you're a creator, you have to and you discuss and you have these type of conversations that are a little controversial. You got a little petty bone. You got to have a little petty bone. You know what I'm saying? You got to activate the petty bone in you sometimes. So I activated the little petty bone, and for some reason, said person couldn't grasp the fact that I'm not African. It's quite perplexed. She tries to be nice with saying things like, but she doesn't understand that DNA doesn't mean anything when people share it. Doesn't mean anything. The whole world shares DNA, migration, movements, all of those type of things. But see, the problem with DNA is where they fix the DNA. See, here in America, they fix Pacific Islander and North American as the same thing, and that's just not true. It's just not true at all. But since they understand their migrations, they have to. This is easy to cover up and say, well, these people were here. I know that kind of sounds crazy and it doesn't make sense and it kind of to you, but if you know anything about history and geographical movements and how people were shuffled and shifted, and even in let me just give you a little bit more of this right here. An indigenous people, a history of the United States. See, this doesn't say the history of America. This says the history of the United States. You understand? There is a difference if you don't catch my drift. See, the problem with the history of the United States is it does not deal with the history of America, okay? It deals with the United States history and the United States perception of history. It does not deal with American history at all, because then you would have to bring the people that you try to erase, that you reclassified, gave names like Negro, colored, mulatto, all these weird names that you created, assigned identities. You beat it into the propaganda machine of the globe just to erase the Aboriginal soul. That's what you did. And then you assumed the title American by default because of what you said. It still doesn't make it true, especially when you're not indigenous to this homeland. So let's take a few dives into an indigenous people history of the United States. Under the crust of the portion of the earth called the United States, America, from California to the Gulf Stream waters. Into red, the bones, the village, the fields, scarred objects of American Indians. They cry out for their stories to be heard through their descendants who carry the memories of how the country was founded and how it came to be as it is today. It should be have it should not have happened that the great civilization of the Western Hemisphere, the very evidence of the Western Hemisphere, were wantonly destroyed. The gradual progress of humanity interrupted and set upon a path of greed and destruction. Choices were made that forged the path toward destruction of life itself, the moment in which we now live and die as our planet shrivels overheated, to learn how the history of both a necessity and a responsibility to the ancestors and descendants of all parties. What history David Chang has written about the land became Oklahoma applies to the whole United States. Nation, race, and class converged in land. Everything in U.S. history is about the land, who oversaw, cultivated it, fished its waters, maintained its wildlife, and invaded and stole it. How it became a commodity. Real estate broken into pieces to be bought, sold on the market. U.S. policies and actions related to indigenous peoples through often called terms racist or discriminatory are rarely depicted as what they are: classic cases of imperialism and a practical form of colonialism, settler colonialism. An anthropologic Patrick Wolf writes, the question of genocide is never as far from discussions to set the colonialism. Land is life, or at least land is necessity for life. The history of the United States is the history of settler colonialism, the founding of a state based on an ideology of white supremacy, the widespread of practices of African slavery, and the policy of genocide and land theft. And a lot of that wasn't African slavery, might I add. They just have to add this to this book because they always like to tell American Indians that we're not who we are. But we did have a lot of Moors that did come over here too. And we do have it. And that creates a big ethnogenesis, a grand ethnogenesis at that. So let me keep reading. African slavery and the policy of genocide and land theft. Those who seek history with the upbeat ending of history of redemption and reconciliation may look around and observe that such conclusions is not visible, not even utopian dreams of a better society. Writing U.S. history from the indigenous people perspective requires rethinking the consensus national narrative. The narrative was wrong or deficient, nor it is fact, dates, or details. It is rather the essence of inherent the myth be taught in an embrace of colonialism and genocide. The myth persists. You see, the myth persists, nor for the lack of the free speech or poverty and information, but rather for its absence of motivations to ask questions that challenges the core of the scripted narrative of the original story. How might acknowledging the reality of U.S. history work in transforming society? That is the central question this book pursues. You should get this book. It's The Indigenous Peoples in the History of the United States. So let me read you let me read you a little more about what people say about this book. With over 250,000 copies sold and featured in Rules Peak HBO documentary, Exterminate All the Brutes. You hear that? Exterminate All the Brutes. This revolutionary work is by accomplished historian and a activist, Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz, who refrained from the conversation about the history of indigenous people. And spanning over 400 years, she examined the U.S. counterinsurgent, war making, and a genocidal effort of U.S. settler colonial regime while illuminating native nations' resistance, which secured the survival of which continues today. Justice seekers everywhere will celebrate Dunbar's unflinching commitment to truth and truth that places settler colonialism, genocide exactly where it belongs, a foundation to the existence of the United States. So, you want to argue with me? It's this land, right? This land, the United States of America. This is settler land now. U.S. This is the U.S. The landmass is called America, but it's the U.S. It's the United States. That's the specific overlay culture, society. You see what's going on right now? It's quite autocratic, ain't it? That's what happens when people have no respect for other lands. See, this is literally history repeating itself. This is neo-colonialism. These are the times we're living in today. America versus the United States, show, part 2. I have to add a little more context for you. You understand? I had to give you a little bit more of the history of this nation. This was a global effort to exterminate all the brutes. So all the brutes were the kings. All the brutes were the masters. All the brutes were the builders. All the brutes were supposedly replaced. But why is every society on the planet degraded now? Because it's ran by a degraded people that never should have been in charge in the first place. It's not in you. You don't have no love for anything. You don't cherish anything. You don't have any ties to anything. Only wealth and greed and power and sycophant behavior and culture. The world doesn't need any of that anymore. It's expired. The lies, the deceit, the destruction. Nobody wants it. It's over. Try a new thing. Bettering yourself. Stop trying to tell yourself the things that aren't you. Get to know who you are. Get to know your people. Get to know where you really come from. I've done the work. I'm just always challenged as if I'm some type of liar or something. Like I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. As if I can't show you specifically who I am. And I have. Some of you folks, it doesn't matter anyway. The reason why I don't get on here and show you a whole lot of, well, I guess it's everywhere on social media. You can check my Facebook, thewilderness.podcast.com. You can check out my TikTok. You can check out right here on YouTube. You can check out Instagram. My shit out there, pimping. I put it all on display, but it doesn't matter anyway because people only believe what they believe. They don't know anything. They don't challenge their minds. They really believe the bullshit they set out to believe. They think that they really conquered the world when they only came to overlay everywhere and shit everywhere. You really think there was no civilization before you? That's dumb. It's so dumb that you can't possibly believe two things at once. You can't possibly. You see all this ancient civilizations. Civilization has nothing to do with you. Civilization has nothing to do with white people or creation. Civilization existed way before you came on the scene. When you come out of caves scratching your ass, civilization had already come to pass. You understand? So for you to even try to take a position as if you're the most eloquent, most civilized one, no, never have been, never could be, especially with your history. You wrote it. Some of you wrote halfway decent. At least you didn't leave out the barbarism. Because what you saw as civilization, the rest of the world saw as barbarism. It wasn't a gentle overtaking nowhere you went. It was murder culture, barbarism, genocidal tirades? Do you forget your history? Or do you just leave all of it out? I don't understand. Because I get a whole lot of flack and I get a whole lot of just hate, just pure just hate to spill all over my page. Just want to degrade everything, huh? Well, that's just who you are. That's just who you are. You rage, hell, and war and mayhem because something don't go your way, because somebody hurt your feelings. Man, don't nobody give a shit about your feelings. The truth has to be told. You should accept it and be more humble. But that ain't in your that ain't, humbling, that ain't your thing. You're a hypocrite from hell is what you are. And I'm not talking about all. I'm not talking about all of anybody. I'm talking about the mentality. You see, that has nothing to do with skin color. It's a mentality. Because people can sit over here and talk about one race over the other all day, and all of them got the same raggedy ass attributes about themselves. Lie, cheat, steal, want to take. Lie, cheat, steal, want to take. I dream I want to be something other than what I am, so I'm just going to be that. Instead of discovering what you are, like, Black Americans have to do. But you're the first people to tell us we don't know ourselves, which is the furthest thing from the damn truth. We know far more about ourselves than half of you would even admit to about yourselves. Just because we don't sit up here and lean and rely on lies and fabricated stories that you sell globally, that's a propaganda machine. The whole world believes it. No, they don't. The whole world know they've been fucked over and fooled. So now these are the repercussions of everything. So now you got Trump slinging fucking ideas out his head out of the yin yang, because this is all falling. It's the fall of white supremacy. It's done. Allegedly. The thing is the becoming of a new age. All of the manifest destiny, propagated lies, disoriented, fucked up relationships you had with people, acting as if you were the governing world body. All of that shit is crumbling down, because that's not your strong suit. That's not what you were supposed to be doing in the first place. See, there were so many opportunities America had to really shape the world in a beautiful place, a beautiful way. But if you can look at every single time we could have, transcended, white supremacy won. You got to admit that. I mean, you got to admit that the dominant society, they just couldn't even deal with it. This is literally the backlash of having not even the first black president. John Hanson was the first black president. This Barack Obama character was just a tether. And he even did more damage. I know y'all hate when I say that, but I'm not a Barack Obama fan. So he did a lot of damage. As much as he did good, he broke. As much as he was what do they call it? He ran on hope. And that's all your ass had to was some hope. Because he ain't do a goddamn thing for black Americans at all. Nothing. And he's still running around here trying to chastise people that he got something to say. Shut up. Sick of you. Sick of your brand. That's why Kamala didn't win. That's his brand. Same damn brand. That shit's over. The Democratic Party always ran on a bad brand. You always sold a bad brand of goods to black Americans. Your base. Vote blue no matter who. Oh my God, you better vote blue, damn it. We got to get these Republicans. Why? You act just like them. Y'all the same side of the same coin. Don't matter which side you flip it, we're fucked. So that's why on the Will of This podcast, I tell you the will is yours, because, I mean, all you got to do is choose self. See, black America, we got issues too. Yeah, some serious fucking issues. I'm telling you, your little old religious ways, you better figure out something new. You got just as much as time and opportunity to learn who you are as everybody else. This is the information age. A lot of people gonna get left behind. A lot of feelings are gonna be hurt. A lot of people just ain't gonna get it. And it's gonna be their own goddamn fault too. I can't feel sorry for you. I can't do nothing for you. Not if you can't do nothing for yourself. I'm all about helping people. I'm all about feeding people. I'm all about giving people education, but I'm also about helping you to understand how to change your mindset and do for yourself. That's the most important thing you can do. Love yourself, adore yourself, take care of your mind, fill it up with good things, not negative thoughts, not all of the atrocious things that people can muster up and say about you. You don't have to believe that. It's all bullshit. They don't know you. You know you though. So that's the most important thing. I'm telling you. A lot of people never grew up out of their childhoods. They never developed. They never matured. Oh my gosh, you'll be surprised how many 45, 50, 60-year-old children never developed. You always need somebody to feel better than. You always got to feel like you're better than someone. That is a childlike fucking behavior. I promise you. Especially when your behavior behind closed doors is filthy, gruesome, disgusting, despicable, uncivilized, animal like. I won't even say animal. Animals above that kind of shit. You ever seen how some people live? See, I look at that type of shit. I look at how people live. I look at your hygiene. I study if you got dirt under your fingernails early in the morning. I just, if I smell you, if I smell your breath, you understand? Now that's the shit I pay attention to. If that's that shit like that, nah, nah, homie. I stay away from people like that. They're filthy, and also I stay away from folks that think they just better than other people. You think you're smarter than someone when your whole perspective is fucked. This shit don't add up because you're delusional. It don't add up because you won't face who the hell you really are. And the sad part about it is the reason why people don't want to face who they are is because they don't really look in the mirror. They look at what they want to see. But America, I see you. United States, I see you too. Yeah. It's the Will of this podcast. Use your own mind. Formulate your own goddamn opinions. Stop joining these sorry ass groups that are destructive and unproductive. They don't even think well. Stop believing what your damn what's in these damn history books and half of the goddamn books that you think you read. It's all meant to skew how you really think about your fucking self. People are destructive. Even educators. Especially American and European ones. I would say, if you really want to know some truth, study the works of Martin Brunell. He's not black. He's British and Jewish. I respect his work. See, the reason why they got this whole always they come with this, what does Britannica says? What does the what does what was what is what's in what's the common what's the what is the popular what is the popular going thing? That's what it is. No, it is not. No, it's not. Especially when the problem with Western civilization is they claim everything started with the Greeks, and that's the biggest piece of shit hypocrisy the world has ever known, and they know it too. You wouldn't be it would be no Greek culture without African culture. There would be no African culture without learning from the big West. See, they told y'all shit in reverse. It's hard for you to admit that shit, but it's the truth. America was far more advanced than the rest of the world. Our genius was even here in the process of these goddamn foreigners claiming things for themselves. You ever heard of the Gilded Age? See, you people have a very you don't know shit about your history or culture or nothing. All you know is domination and lies and what went the press first. That's it's on paper that you're a thief. You just didn't do a good job of covering the shit up. You see what Trump, man, let me get, I got another show for y'all. It may not be tonight, maybe tomorrow. I may have to reschedule that, but y'all dig this. Check this show out tonight. Understand, learn something, and be true to yourself. Because, as I say again, the uncovering is lies. The uncovering is lies. Y'all want to get these books right here. Check this out. Y'all want to get these. You want to get these books right here. You really do. Medical Apartheid. And it's a really pretty, it's a damn good book right here, too. I have my objections with it, but it's a damn good book. And that's because I read a lot. I have different perspectives because I like a multitude of references, not just one or two books here and there. That's why I keep stuff like this with me, you know? Huh? 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 I don't know who I am, huh? I know who you are, too. See, a lot of Caucasians, the black was bred out of their asses. And that's another self-hating interwhite trope. Some of them know. And it enrages them that they got a black daddy. Just look at Latin America. You see dark hair and dark brown eyes, something like that, and some look like a light-skinned black dude, and they know it. Boy, they try to soften their look up to look white as they want to be. But you got a black granddaddy and a black great-granddaddy. They look like me. That's the whole problem right there. That's why they get enraged. You don't know whether to love or hate your papa. Anyway, let me get up out of here, y'all. You get the point. You understand where I'm coming from. But check it out. Stop being ashamed of who you are. Just stop. Just stop right there. Just stop being ashamed of who you are. And stop calling people out of their names. Let's just start there. All right? Cool. Anyway, favorite part of the show, you know what it is. The wheel is yours. Stay up. Peace.